The invitations were sent in gold, but the ceremony was written in shadow. I stood before the great doors, the weight of the silk feeling like a shroud. The raven watched from the rafters, a silent witness to a vow that should never have been spoken. Every step down the aisle felt like walking on the skin of a dying drum. He stood at the altar, a familiar shape in the darkness, waiting for the I do. But when I reached for him, the air turned cold enough to crack bone. The birds screamed, a sound like tearing parchment, warning me of the trap. His face wasn't a face at all, just a hungry void of shifting ink. The flowers died in my hands, a wedding gift from the grave. The very glass of the cathedral shattered, suspended in a moment of frozen chaos. My only ally was a creature of feathers, an ancient violet light. The contract was signed in a language that bled and breathed on the page. The world began to fold, turning the sanctuary into a paper cage. I realized then that to save my soul, I had to unwrite the love we shared. The ink hissed as it died, a final gasp of a lie that almost became a life. It was over. The silence that followed was heavier than the screams. The stone returned to stone, cold and indifferent to my survival. I left my veil for the ghosts. I wouldn't be needing it where I was going. The night finally broke, the sun bleeding into a sky that had forgotten the light. I walked into the mist, a bride of no one, followed only by the wings of the morning.
A converted barn glows warm against a darkening sky. Expensive cars line the gravel driveway. String lights twinkle like earthbound stars. Emma, 28, radiant with pre-wedding joy, sits beside her fiancé David at the head of a long wooden table. 30 guests raise champagne glasses. Emma's eyes scan the room, counting blessings. Her gaze freezes. A woman stands motionless in the shadows near the back door. She wears a tattered white dress, yellowed with age. Her face remains obscured by stringy, wet black hair. Emma blinks. The corner stands empty. She shakes her head, laughing at herself, and returns to the celebration. A pale hand presses against the glass. Condensation forms around skeletal fingers. Emma sits at her vanity in her parents' home, brushing her hair. Her wedding dress hangs on the closet door, pristine and beautiful. She studies an old photograph, herself as a child with her grandmother, both smiling widely. Emma kisses her fingertips and presses them to her grandmother's face in the photo. The closet door creaks open an inch. Emma turns, sees nothing unusual, walks over and closes it firmly. She climbs into bed, pulls up the covers, and closes her eyes. 2 bloodshot eyes snap open in the darkness. Emma's eyes flutter. Something woke her. A weight presses down at the foot of her bed. She freezes, certain she's imagining things. The weight slowly, deliberately begins crawling up the mattress toward her. Emma's hand trembles as it reaches for her phone on the nightstand. She activates the flashlight and whips it toward her feet. The woman crouches at the foot of the bed, her head twisted at an impossible angle, mouth stretched into a grotesque smile. Her fingers, too long, too jointed, grip the comforter. Emma screams silently, scrambling backward, crashing to the floor. When she looks back at the bed, nothing. A winding gravel road cuts through the fog as a white limousine approaches a towering Victorian manor. The estate looms against a bruised purple sky, its windows flickering with candlelight. Maya, radiant in her wedding gown, shares a nervous smile with her groom. As she steps onto the gravel, she glances up. A single curtain on the third floor moves, then falls still. The grand ballroom gleams, filled with the warmth of 100 candles and 50 expectant guests. Maya walks the aisle, petals scattering beneath her feet. At the altar, her groom lifts her veil. But among the white roses of her bouquet, a single black petal rests. She plucks it away, dropping it to the floor, where it dissolves into the wood like ink into water. As the ceremony continues, the maid of honor stiffens. At the back of the room stands a woman in a black wedding dress, her face obscured by a dark veil. She is impossibly still. The maid of honor blinks, and the figure is gone. But in the shadows of the pillars, the hem of a black dress remains just visible. The reception begins. Laughter and champagne flow as the couple share their first dance. An elderly grandmother freezes, her champagne glass shattering on the floor as she points toward an empty hallway. The guests laugh it off, but on the floor, a single shadow stretches from an empty corner.
Seeking air, Maya wanders the upstairs corridor. She stops at a wall of vintage wedding photos from decades past. In every single image, 1952, 1967, 1983, the woman in black is there, lurking in the background, watching. Terrified, Maya bolts for her suite. Safe inside, she catches her breath and turns to the vanity mirror. Her reflection stares back, but in the glass, the woman in black stands directly behind her shoulder. Maya spins around to an empty room. When she looks back at her reflection, she is now wearing the black veil. She screams, but no sound escapes. One by one, the candles extinguish. Downstairs, the party continues. The groom looks around for his bride as the lights flicker and the massive double doors creak open. Maya enters, gliding unnaturally toward him. Her white veil has turned to a deep, void-like black. The groom reaches for her, smiling in relief, but beneath the dark lace, Maya's eyes are pure white, and her lips curl into a smile that is not her own. The candles blow out. Total darkness. A distorted wedding march echoes through the manor.